Looks like it's receiving me just fine. Yo, peoples, Qushu92 here, and we're waiting for the moment where we get more details on Marvel's Spider-Man, the new PS4 game that's going to be coming out early 2018. We're awaiting the new arrival for the GameInformer's article. Oh, and it's 11 already. Let's go ahead. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. I gotta see it. Let's get it. Tell me what you got. Please tell me. It is 8. It says it's going to be here at 11. It's 11 right now. Where you at, though? Because I'm anticipating this brand new information. I'm going to go to the full hub if I gotta. It's supposed to be a new update today. I'm anticipating this, y'all. I'm serious. Hold on, I'm just making sure the chat's up too. But I'm seriously anticipating what this article is going to tell us. So I'm going to keep refreshing this page until I see it. Because I seen the new video that they had, hold on, let me turn this much better. Okay, so, because I also got me some buttermilk pancakes here for me. But I seen the video from the article that came up, what was it, yesterday? I want to say yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And it showed more gameplay of Spider-Man, his combat, the web swinging. The web swinging looks crisp with a sp on the end, like a crispy smooth. Like the transitions look good. I mean, that look good. But seriously though, let's get serious for a second. Everything about what that whole video just showed, and it's just the Insomniac team just talking about you want to be Spider-Man. I'm getting major vibes of us actually being Spider-Man with this. And like me personally, I haven't. Hold on, it's saying that frame rate is bad. Hold on, let me. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently, keyframes are not being sent often enough, which will cause buffering. It doesn't look like I'm getting that problem, though. That thing got problems. Still, I'm going to continue as normal. Still waiting on that new article to come up, so I'm switching windows to make sure that the stream is up properly, because I'm seriously awaiting when this thing drops. Yes! Oh! Release date! Here we go! Here we go! Alright, Spider-Man releases exclusively on PlayStation 4 on September 7th. That's early. That's the second quarter of 2018? That really is? Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and read. Game Informer's May issue is filled with new Spider-Man details, including the release date. Good news, Spider-Man fans, you don't have to wait long to swing across New York City on a web line. Insomniac Games and Sony Interactive Entertainment are releasing Spider-Man exclusively on PlayStation 4 on September 7th. If my math is correct, that's 155 days from now. Plenty of time to get used, get your custom hard drive, and get your whole body ready for this new game to come out. If you want to know what to expect, our cover story outlines into the opening moments of the game. After a fun introductory story sequence, we play through the first mission, which pits Spidey against a prominent villain, and then spent a significant amount of time exploring the open world, taking on as many tasks and side activities. Our cover story offers information on Spider-Man's upgrades, leveling, and suit crafting.
I can't take this anymore. We want it, we need it.
Yes, you can bring back some of Spidey's most beloved looks, of which there are many. The 14-page story is a thorough breakdown of what we saw, including insight from Insomniac's development team. Insomniac, what you have done and what you've shown, and what they've shown is just an alpha build. It's not even the beta yet. But what we've seen so far is absolutely amazing. Overall, to be honest. So, again, the release date is September 7th, and it can't come soon enough. For more on Spider-Man, including video interviews with Insomniac and more, click the banner below. We sure enough gonna click that hub button. And it ain't got nothing. You lied to me! That can't be the only thing that y'all talking about Spider-Man. I know I can pull up my... Can I pull up my May issue? Can I pull it up? Please tell me. Transporting you to your digital magazine. Oh, please let it be the May issue. Yes! 14 pages, and we're going through them all. Cover story, Spider-Man. Living on the edge, fighting crime, spinning webs, leaping from the highest ledge. He can swing above our heads. Sorry, that is not how I wanted to sing that. Alright, platform, PS4 style, one person, one player action, Sony Entertainment, interactive entertainment, developed by Insomniac Games, release date September 7th. We go hands-on with Spider-Man and discover an open world of web-swinging, combat, RPG elements, and more. Thank you, Andrew Reiner. Move on to the next. Alright. Amazing, spectacular, sensational. Each Spider-Man comic book cover tells the reader to expect something extraordinary. The artwork amplifies these commanding words, often showing, pardon me, the red and blue wall crawler soaring through the air, shooting webs or pummeling evildoers. Just looking at the cover is an oddly exhilarating experience, a formula Marvel has successfully used since Spider-Man was first introduced into the 1962 comic book Amazing Fantasy number 15. Spider-Man's relevance has only grown stronger in the years that followed. He's on the silver screen, on your TV, and in so many comic book series, even the most ardent fans can't keep them all straight. He just doesn't have much of a pulse in video games, and even after several titles from yesteryear showed us he's a great fit for the medium. Developer Insomniac Games hopes to change this narrative with its own interpretation of Spider-Man, one that adheres to the decades of comic book history fans have come to expect, but also explores narrative territory they wouldn't. The fantasy every Spider-Man fan wants harks back to those comic book covers. Snapshots of Spider-Man doing amazing things transformed into fluid gameplay. Insomniac delivers that Spider-Man dream, but isn't afraid to focus on the man under the mask. Because as you've seen, we've had games in the past of Spider-Man where you could play as Peter Parker, but there really wasn't nothing else you could do. Especially in Spider-Man 2, as much as I love that game, the Peter Parker moments were nothing more than you just running into the Daily Bugle, talking to either Jameson or Robbie or Betty Brant. And that was it. There was nothing else you could do in the Daily Bugle in Spider-Man 2. Anytime you would run up to a different door, it would always have that lock sound as if to say, hey, this door could be unlocked, but it can't. And that was all that you could do. And they try to introduce the Peter Parker element once again in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but even that was lackluster. So I'm glad to hear that they're actually want to take a portion of the game and focus on not just Spider-Man himself, but Peter Parker as well. Let me see if this stream is still... Yeah, still acting extra. I ain't gonna worry about it. Back to the story. The studio also wants players to get to know Peter Parker, who deals with the issues many of us face every day. Relationships, fiat, finances, and just being a decent human being. Almost every person I talked to from Insomniac and Marvel echoed one sentiment. The best Spider-Man stories are when Peter Parker and Spider-Man's worlds collide. Peter gets a lot of face time in this game. You're going to see the web-swinging action slow to a crawl to focus on his life. And I'm actually okay with that. Not just a moment where we get to swing around as Peter Parker and his civvies, but actually taking a significant portion of the game where you get to spend time as Spider-Man. Sure, I would love to play as Spider-Man all the time, but I would also like to have moments where I'm legitimately playing as Peter Parker. Not just it being a side story to the main story, but a section of the story where it's Peter Parker as well who has a focus in the story. Not just occasionally where you see him in his civvies and then he has to change into Spider-Man because some big catastrophe is happening. No, I want to see what they're doing, what they're showing right now. I want that to happen. And you might not be able to see too much of this article. Let me see if I can widen it. Nope, still won't be able to see it. Oh well. But you guys can read it because it's up on Game Informer right now. Alright, so see to crawl, focus on his life. We got our hands on Spider-Man, and we're shown just how Insomniac is trying to create interesting gameplay and moments for both the hero and the man. It all begins with an unexpected ending. Next page. Oh, right. Gotta click the window. Suiting up! Oh, that is such a good screenshot. Please let someone make a wallpaper out of that. Viewed from a certain lens, New York City skyline is a showcase of wealth and power. These billion-dollar towers lift the sinful fat cats and corrupt politicians closer to the heavens they'll likely never occupy. They rule this city. They believe they are untouchable at this height. That was before the arrival of Cape Spandex and a 23-year-old struggling to pay his rent. Peter Parker has the power to clean up this city. In the 8 years he's been Spider-Man, he's tangled with these tyrants, chipping away at their empires in a seemingly endless dance of violence and destruction. Today, one of them will finally fall and bring closure. The first seconds of the game focus on a black spider twisting and turning as it descends on a thin line of silk in front of an open window, backed by vibrant sunlight. Lens flare! I'm calling it right now, there's going to be lens flare. The camera slowly pans to the right, giving us enough time to see a series of photographs. The first showing the smiling faces of Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and a second a glimpse of a youthful Peter sitting with friend Harry Osborn and ex-girlfriend Mary Jane Watson. Ex-girlfriend! Oh, I'm sorry, Peter. We then see Peter's entire life come into focus in just a few seconds, moving from an old police scanner he uses to track crime, to a plant that appears to have died from lack of water, to a notebook with illustrations of web shooters and new gadgets, to a handful of Daily Bugle newspapers hanging precariously on the wall, each highlighting a different villain. The names and faces of Electro, Scorpion, Rhino, and Vulture are front and center, and it doesn't even give you pages on what it is, but I would love to see it. The tight framing of this shot echoes Peter's lifestyle. He lives in a microscopic studio apartment made smaller by a mess of clothing and food containers. You'd be hard-pressed to find 1 inch of this living space that isn't occupied. Even in a partially awake state, Peter is quick to put on his web shooters, 2 high-tech devices he places on thin wristbands he nonchalantly wears about town. He wears part of his web shooters as wristbands in his civvies, and no one's none the wiser. Before donning his costume, the iconic version from the comics with the black spider on his chest, he comically tosses 2 pieces of bread into the toaster and uses his webbing to snag them midair as they pop up, slightly browned. Wouldn't that taste nasty? I mean, you got web on the perfectly toasted pieces of bread. He scarfs down 1 piece and suits up. Before leaving his apartment, he sees another eviction notice under his door. Bro, what you doing, Peter? He hesitates for a brief second, debating if he should do something about it, but then turns his gaze to the police scanner, which has come to life and is barking out chaos. In the distance, he can hear the roaring of police sirens racing towards their target. The earpieces in his mask also carry the voice of Yuriko Watanabe, the police chief and friend who has a lead on Wilson Fisk. I gotta eat these pancakes that are right here because I don't want them to get cold, so I'm taking a brief pause real quick. Buttermilk pancakes. Known in the criminal underground as Kingpin, Fisk has operated outside of the law, taking advantage of the inept bureaucracy of the city to gain considerable wealth and power. He hides high atop Fisk Tower, a massive landmark that flaunts the wealth of its owner, with gaudy gold elevators, marble floors, and a giant gold logo with heavy emphasis on the name Fisk. Doesn't surprise me. After watching Spider-Man soar between red brick high-rises and run haphazardly along the side of a metal railing, I suddenly find myself in control of him. Had the game not paused to deliver my first instruction of press R2 to web swing, I likely would have watched him fall to the street. The transition between the cinematic and gameplay is seamless. Yes, as Spider-Man waits, pulls him closer to the street and crowded with taxis, moving trucks, and citizens on the sidewalk, a web rockets from his wrist and attaches to a building to his right. Spider-Man's momentum shifts into a long swing, concluding with him being launched high into the air. He spins every which way like a gymnast dismounting for a landing, gaining speed and height with each new web line that is thrown out. Gaining speed and height with each new web line. Because some people were worried that... Oh, welcome to the stream, MC. Sorry, I had to switch between... Actually, you know what? I'm going to have the chat on one side and this on the other, because I already know that the video's going fine. So that way I can see the chat. But welcome, MC, to the stream. We're talking about Spider-Man for the PS4 with the new article that has come out today. As Spider-Man... Okay. The sound of the wind howls as he moves across the city at a breakneck pace. Even though I just started playing seconds ago, the web swinging is easy to grasp. It has a nice rhythm and flow, giving me the precision needed to slide through narrow gaps. Holding L3 sends Spider-Man into a headfirst dive, a move used to gain even more momentum. Yo! Okay. So, there's been... Okay, I know for those of you who have played Spider-Man Web of Shadows, you know that no matter what you do, no matter how you swing, sure, there's dozens of different ways that Spider-Man shoots out his webs and just attaches to them. But whatever you do, when you come out of it and you just straight dive, it is always the same. You never have the option to change how you dive to the ground, never like high in the air or twist your body or do tricks like Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 and the GameCube used to do. But the option to actually trigger a dive bomb out of any swing, like if you're in the air and you need that extra speed, you just dive bomb and let that speed of that dive bomb carry you into that swing. Yo, this is so golden. Hitting X at any point of a swing or dive sends out a different web. More of a zip or pull that alters his trajectory quickly. Yo, this is so cool. But is more of a transitional move to ease navigation. Yes, they're making it so that it's easy to use, but difficult to master. That's how I see it. Because pretty soon we're going to be seeing people just doing straight up parkour videos of Spider-Man just swinging through the entirety of New York. Though it has a nice rhythm and flow, giving the precision needed to slide through narrow gaps. Okay, yeah, it can be used to quickly dart around corners. Yo, he's 8 years as Spider-Man, so he's fine-tuned his traversal methods, says Brian Intihar. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sorry, Brian. Intihar is Spider-Man's creative director and a lifelong fan who remembers getting in trouble after wearing a Spider-Man costume under his clothing at school. How can you get in trouble for wearing a Spider-Man costume under your clothes? Unless the school got a dress code, you better cut that boy some slack. We didn't want to stop the player's momentum at all. If you slam into a building, you run along it or up it depending on the angle. Now, here's one thing that really hit me in the head once I saw this video of Spider-Man swinging. I'll see if I can get a video up so I can show you guys what I mean. But of Spider-Man swinging, I get the vibe of unstoppable movement that the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction showed. Like, when Hulk was running, you could not stop him. And when you started jumping, especially if you're in a city, his unstoppable movement was best displayed in the city zone. And when you're in a city zone, you literally can go, you have your run, you have your walk, you have your walk, you have your regular run, and then you have your straight up sprinting, where you literally knock everything out of your way, and when you go towards a building, you start running up the building or running across the building. And you have multiple traversal moves like air dashes that would allow you to jump from one building to the next and never touch the ground at all. And it just was unstoppable, and it was just continuous, and you could make it seamless if you wanted. When I saw that video of Spider-Man just swinging and how they made it so seamless to transition from swinging into the air, hitting the wall, running up the wall, using his web to stop himself from flying too high in the air in order to continue traversing across a rooftop. It just synced up to me. It just synced up for me when I saw that. Alright, so if you slam to a building, you run along it or up it depending on the angle he adds. When you get to the top, you have two options. You can just keep going, which will send you into a mid-air jump, or you time a button press at the top of a building to catapult yourself forward to keep your momentum going. Unstoppable parkour movement. Yes, if you are too far above the buildings or find yourself in the middle of nowhere, you can't swing in the traditional way. Obviously, I would hate for them to automatically make it so that your web's just randomly attached to something just to keep up the feel of swinging. Looking at you, Amazing Spider-Man 1. You failed. Alright, if there's a building down below, you can attach a downward web to keep your flow going, says Ryan Smith, game director of Insomniac. There's a physics aspect to all of it. It ends up being a different swing motion to get you back in range. Physics-based web swinging. Finally, someone gets it. Moving on to the next page. Gotta click the window. Redesigning Spidey's costume. Insomniac says the white spider logo on the front and back of Spider-Man's chest have meaning in the story, but wouldn't elaborate any more than teasing it may tie into his scientific career. The flow of the red and blue are based on the makeup of the human body. If you think about how functional athletic gears is, that's the same logic we apply to our suit, says Jacinda Chu, art director at Insomniac Games. What it does to support you and allow flexibility, that's the same logic we use. You'll see our suit has a lot of paneling like in athletic gear. One of the main things that's different about our suit than the classic is he no longer has a red boot. If you're a 23-year-old, you're probably not going to wear a red boot. We thought an athletic shoe would be more appropriate for someone that age. The other thing we did was think of the functionality of the suit. The blue is where the suit allows flexibility, where he has the highest range of motion. Yo, that's such good attention to detail. Because when it comes to Spidey swinging, the things that tend to get, the parts of his body that tends to move the most are his sides, under his arms, his sides, and his legs. And that's exactly where those blue portions are in order to keep his flexibility up, and where he has the highest range of motion. Anything that is red is made out of a thicker material for armor reinforcement. Yo! Like his helmet, and like his head, and his chest, and the tops of his arms as well, but mainly like the chest area and the head. Yo! I'm getting Batman vibes. All the section of his armor that aren't armored are made to be flexible, and all the pieces that are thicker. That explains why the red portions of his suit looks raised compared to his blue portions. Blue portions. It's where he might get hit the most, or where he might scrape against a building when swinging across the city. Makes perfect sense, because if you remember playing Spider-Man 2, he would sometimes like to put his hand up in order to keep himself from like skidding across the building. But that's also a part of his suit where it was like, well, I'm just speaking from Spider-Man 2 terms, so I can't say that's exactly how it was going. But that makes perfect sense. The fact that they're not just making a suit just to be making a suit or to make it different, the fact that they thought so much into why this suit is the way it is just like, Insomniac, you're doing the thing. Come on. Fall of the King. Hold on. I'm not missing anything, am I? No, I'm not. The tranquility of soaring across the Big Apple doesn't last long, as a series of police cars dart onto the screen. Sorry, I'm cutting my pancake pieces. The pancake is still hot. Buttermilk. Giving Spider-Man a trail of flashing red and blue lights to follow. The destination is an intersection exploding with the sound of gunfire. Men dressed head to toe in black with hints of purple are opening fire on the police officers huddled behind their cars and vans. It's Kingpin's crew. They've taken this fight to the streets, blocked away from Fist Tower. Blocks away, not blocked away. Blocks away from Fist Tower. They're trying to slow the police to give their boss a better chance of slipping through their handcuffs. One of the gunmen holds up a radio and says, "Call in the Hammer." A red fuel truck approaches and it isn't braking. Holding true to the name Hammer, the truck rams into the police barricade at such a force that the fuel tank is jettisoned and explodes. The police are knocked back, many now lying on the ground wondering what hit them. The gunmen use the moment of confusion to attack. They raise their guns to open fire, but soon realize they are holding nothing but air. A quick torrent of accurate web shots have disarmed the adversaries. Yo! Perfect Spider-Man intro. Spider-Man lands at their feet, confident and ready to fight. The conflict serves as the combat tutorial. Yes. I like how the story aspect of this is seamlessly transitioning into teaching you about combat. My only thing about this game is as long as they don't try to hold your hand too much. Because too many Spider-Man games have done that. They don't think some gameplay aspects and gameplay mechanics were so simplistic in a way as if to say, well, you don't need to worry about thinking too much about doing this. So we're going to make it easier for you and less you have to remember in order to give you so that you don't have to worry about things like, oh, how are you going to turn, or what building is your web going to attach to, or how fast are you going to swing. Like, there's numerous Spider-Man games that are quick to pander their players and not make it feel like a true Spider-Man experience because there's so much hand-holding. But I digress. The conflict serves as a combat tutorial, but I quickly learned Insomniac doesn't intend to ease the player into it. Yes, the team wants you to feel like a seasoned superhero right away, which is illustrated. Oh, sorry. That was just a random message I got. Kunal Chavan. This game is going to be awesome, fantastic, mind-blowing. Dude, you have no idea how much I'm looking forward to this game. And it's coming out in September. I'm setting my calendar. Hold up. Had a piece of pancake stuff. Who is all of this? All these people. Oh, it's just Game Informer letting me know that my issue is ready. Okay. Back into it. Which is illustrated. Okay, the team wants you to feel like a seasoned superhero right away, which is illustrated seconds after learning how to throw my first punch. You're always looking for opportunities when you drop into combat. Inithar says. Intihar. I keep getting that name wrong. I'm sorry, dude. You can attack one enemy on the ground, punch another into the air, and continue the combat there. Web down to another guy, swing kick another one, juggle another, bring out a gadget, look for an environment interaction. It starts with the basics of melee, but we really want to get you off. We really want to get you off of the ground to use your acrobatics, gadgets, and webs to feel like Spider-Man. Yo, this combat sounds so hot though. Like, I keep getting reminded of different gameplay mechanics. Like, they're taking all the great things from past Spider-Man games, but they're putting their own spin on it, but it's like they're all meshing it together so it is coherent and it works properly. This is absolutely amazing. Like, just look at this description. You can attack one enemy on the ground, attacking them into the ground, punch another into the air, and continue to combat there. So you can punch them into the air, jump up, I'm assuming, and continue to hit them in the air. Juggle, web down to another guy. So while you're in the middle of a combo, in the middle of a mid-air combo with another guy, you can transition back to the ground, web yourself down to another guy, swing kick another, juggle another, bring out a gadget, look for an environment interaction. It wants you to keep a combo. It wants you to keep the flow combat going. Yo, it just this game, y'all need to stop. The combat sequence doesn't last long, but is loaded with gravity-defying feats. When airborne, Spider-Man can pummel foes with his fists, uses web shooters to spin them up, then smash them to the ground where they remain incapacitated in a giant web. Classic Spider-Man style. Other web moves are used to throw manhole covers. Manhole covers. Can you legit take a manhole off of a sewer grate and throw it at somebody? And trash cans to knock enemies over. Like, the option to literally web up a random trash can lid and literally Captain America it into another dude. To throw manhole covers and trash cans to knock enemies over. As wildly animated as the combat is, most of the actions are handled with a button press or two. I'm okay with that. As long as it's not overly complicated, I'm okay with that completely. And the timing windows are not always immediate, providing space for contemplation on how to dispatch a threat. Spider-Man moves fluidly and can close the gap to his attackers with a web dash that puts him at their feet. Yo! So you know how Batman had his classic dodge, tumble, flip over move? Now Spider-Man has his own where he can literally web an area close to the person he wants to fight and close in the space. No more trying to do dodge rolls in order to get close to a combat member in order to keep your combat flowing before the combo meter just runs out. I don't even know if this game even has a combo meter. But being able to web zip to an opponent just so you can keep your combo going, crisp. Okay, his spider sense. Ooh, spider sense, because we've seen that too in that first gameplay trailer during the Sony presentation, where we see his spider sense go off and it literally goes in slow motion as he dodges the bullets jumping towards that one dude. I'm gonna have to rewatch that as soon as I'm done with this. His spidey sense, which is illustrated with the iconic wave forms over his head, alerts him to incoming attacks, where there's close range or a gun about to be fired from afar. He bounces between enemies like a pinball so swiftly at times that it can be difficult to truly survey the battlefield or keep tabs on enemy whereabouts, as many of them are tossed around with reckless abandon. As many of them are... Oh, right, I literally just read over that same sentence. Regardless of the occasional confusion, the combat mechanics feel great and allow for a high level of choice. I love it when a game gives the player choices. Not the choices that are predetermined into a game, but the ability to handle a situation any way they like. Like, just literally just drop us in a world, give us tons of ways to do something, and just says, do it however you want to. By performing well, the player earns the chance to slow the combat flow to execute a finishing move by simultaneously pressing the triangle and circle button. That has always been the mainstay for special moves. With Batman, the triangle and circle has mainly been straight up takedowns. With subsequent sequel games, upping how many different button press you have, that'll turn it into different takedowns. So it's good that they're still staying true to that. These one-hit takedowns are elaborate, showcasing Spider-Man's wit and power through beautifully framed animation sequences. Hold on, I was just making sure that I'm still in full view of the camera. In one finisher, Spidey shoots 2 webs onto the ground, yet keeps them attached to his wrist to create a tight, elastic catapult to give him leverage as he plants his feet on the back of an enemy and smashes his face into the pavement. That sounds so brutal. I want to do that. Reinforcements arrive via a dump truck, which again is shown through a breakout cinematic. They open fire, but I can disarm them with a quick web shot. After dispatching the last foe with a wicked swing kick that sends him twirling into a parked car, the battle moves to the steps of Fist Tower. Yuriko and her troops are under heavy fire and in desperate need of backup. She calls it in and requests the airspace be secured. Spider-Man arrives at her side, exchanging a few pleasantries, and then vaults into action after she gives him a vocal "do your thing" sign of approval. It's good to know that at least New York's finest are capable of seeing just how big a hero that Spidey is, though I will not be surprised if Jameson is still in his same ways of trying to call Spider-Man a menace. I would not be surprised at all. Spider-Man gives her an excited fist pump in return. He enters Fist Tower by using one of Kingpin's goons as a battering ram to smash through the lobby's massive window. Yo, that sounds brutal even for Spidey. Like, using someone just to break through a window? Just, let me use your body. And then jump through a window with their body. Really hope he jumped through with his back. Like, back first. Because if Spidey did it face first, that's actually kind of brutal for Spidey. Okay, the chatter of gunfire erupts again, but is snuffed out by various objects transformed into projectiles. Spider-Man swings them wildly in wide arcs over his head, and it's up to the player to pinpoint which foe will catch it with his teeth. After first glance, Fist Tower appears to be modeled after Trump Tower, but Insomniac says that isn't the case. Thank you. If you look at the design of Fist Tower, it feels a bit royal, says Jacinda Chu, art director at Insomniac. There's gold in there, and his people are wearing purple. Fisk is also into Japanese culture, so there's a Zen aesthetic to the build as well. You'll see things like bamboo plants, Japanese art, and samurai armor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's never going to be able to fit a single piece of those. Yuriko instructs Spider-Man to get to the top of the building. Seconds later, the power to the elevators go out. A problem for the police, but not for someone who can climb walls. Spider-Man briskly sprints up the interior elevator shaft, but finds himself at another impasse on a higher floor. He doesn't crawl up the wall. It says that he sprints up the wall. Pressing R3 allows me to scan the environment. Using your Spidey sense to find people. This is going to be amazing. In this instance, the only thing of note is a ceiling vent just large enough to hold a person, illuminated with a vibrant gold hue. Ooh, looks like my own private ventrance. Ventrance? Yeah. I literally thought that was a typo, but seeing how Spider-Man loves puns, ventrance actually fits him. Wow. I almost thought that was a really big typo, but it's Spidey. Spidey quips as he crawls into it. In this tight space, he receives a call from his aunt. His worlds are colliding at the wrong time. She immediately questions what the background noise is, and Peter awkwardly says he's watching superhero movies, but will need to get back to her. Yuriko issues the alert that Fisk is wiping his servers to destroy evidence. Spider-Man's mission shifts to salvaging the data. So no, you're not just solely beating up people. You're also doing data retrieval. Sweet. Sorry, it sounded like I wanted to burp, but also yawn at the same time. So it was more like, sorry. A giant display is positioned over the computer, projecting a countdown timer that comically ticks down to the data being destroyed. I have to act quickly to dispatch an onslaught of foes and race over to the terminal to stop the process and retrieve the data on a USB stick. Kingman's hired help gives Spider-Man a run for his money, but their numbers are quickly whittled away, prompting the angry face of Wilson Fisk to appear on the moniker, looking 100 times the giant he already is. Yes, because he's massive. Yo, I gotta finish these pancakes. Give me a sec. Alright. He taunts Spider-Man and the screen, both in the game and in my demo, fade to black. Insomniac didn't want to show us what would happen next, but did give us a look at the outcome of this mission. We see Fisk's hand behind his back in cuffs. After 8 years of conflict, Spider-Man finally brought him down. As Fisk is loaded into the back of a van, he warns Spider-Man he'll miss having him around. It'll take just 1 month, but he'll end up missing the relationship they had. This sequence shows Insomniac doubling down on this being a new Spider-Man story. The first mission brings a sense of closure you normally find at the end of most stories. Seriously. I mean, the storyline for the Kingpin in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was brought to a close like near the end of the game. And here, you're already taking down a villain, like a big name villain, within the first story mission. And you still got the rest of the story to go. It's crazy. For story, it also provides uncertainty for what will happen next. For Spider-Man, he thinks he's done the city a big favor and has helped restore order to it. It is never that simple. What he doesn't know is that with Kingpin's tyrannical reign over, it opens the floodgates for other villains to rise to power. The men behind the mask. Spider-Man is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, the actor who plays Kirk Connor's Lizard in the new Spider-Man TV series. Haven't seen it, probably won't watch it. And was the prince in Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Peter Parker's face is modeled after actor John Bubniak. Lowenthal says it's a dream come true getting to play Spider-Man. The path to Spider-Man was interesting for me. Insomniac brought me in to do a test. There was no guarantee I would be Spider-Man. When they started doing the auditions, I think there was some pushback because, well, he's done other stuff for us and we can't have him do Spider-Man because he just did Sunset Overdrive. I just assumed I would somehow get vetoed and it would go to someone else. When I got it, it was one of those red letter days. It's been fantastic. I grew up with Spider-Man. During the gameplay that we've seen of Spider-Man, I really think that Yuri Lowenthal has a good voice to play Spider-Man. And I cannot wait for this. Yo, look at the screenshot. The screenshot is so nice. It's so nice. I like... There needs to be Spider-Man PS4 wallpapers. I would gladly have this up on my laptop. Alright. For the time, hero duality. For the time being, however, Peter has every right to celebrate. This is the point in his life he thinks he can finally find balance. His nemesis is behind bars in Rikers Correctional Facility. Aunt May is making a difference in the world with her work at a feast shelter, and he's doing what he loves. Working as a scientist for a company in Tahar won't reveal until the game ships. What is he working with? Oscorp? Maybe? Insomniac gave us a glimpse at Peter's relationship with his aunt through a story clip set in the early moments of the game. Peter and Martin Lee, the philanthropist who opened the feast shelters, are preparing for a surprise party for May. Peter shows up late and his aunt is already there, well in advance of the decorations being hung. Her presence complicates matters, but gives us a glimpse at just how awkward Peter can be out of the costume. The player controls Peter in this instant, able to interact with people and items in the environment. Yes. I mean, I know we've seen it before, but the prospect pleases me. In a comical exchange, Peter tries to keep May distracted as Lee and other people hang signs and balloons in the background. He tells his aunt he just wants to talk, which ends up being a bad idea, since she immediately asks if he's in trouble, needs money, or if he is having girl troubles again. That last train of thought rolls into May, wishing Peter and Mary Jane would have worked things out because they would have made such beautiful oh, yep. Peter wisely cuts her off. He and MJ have been on again and off again for years. Years? Bruh. But they haven't spoken in over 6 months. Peter changes the subject to thank his aunt for all she's done for him. Lee echoes the sentiment and says May was the person who in part inspired him. They spin her around to the applause of everyone in the room. Lee toasts her for all of the work she's done. This story sequence plays out slowly and is reminiscent in the visual direction and cinematic presentation to Naughty Dog's Uncharted series. Yo! That is how you do like good pacing though in a game where it's the parts that aren't action filled when they're slowed down to actually fully enjoy. That's good, especially with Uncharted and The Last of Us is concerned. The characters aren't just standing motionless, they move around and interact with each other and the environment in natural ways. Little touches that seem trivial but give the story sequences a believable quality. I'm glad they took the trouble to put in trivial little tidbits in these sort of sequences. Because far too often we get games where no one's moving around. You have the occasional NPC that's moving around, but they move around on a loop. Where you have all these people interacting with each other, interacting with objects and stuff like that. I really like the way, I like where they're going with this. Although we didn't see Mary Jane in a game sequence, we did view several images of her. We learned she isn't the same person we know from the comic books. She knows Peter is Spider-Man, and in a bit of a role reversal, she's the one who works at the Daily Bugle as an emerging investigative journalist. Yo, okay. What we're really excited about is MJ's arc is more than just cutscenes, Tahar says. She's a playable character at certain points, each with unique missions and gameplay mechanics. In a familiar-looking shot from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film, we see Spider-Man dangling upside down on the line directly in front of MJ. This sequence won't end with a kiss. She's giving Spider-Man orders. Ooh, okay. I see you, MJ. Like most of us, she started at the bottom, and now she's there. And she's really got to work her way up. Adds John Paquette, lead writer at Insomniac. She has to pay her dues. It's serendipitous that she has Spider-Man next to her, and the stories kind of follow him, right? She's got a partner there, but it is also a complicated relationship. It's hard for them because they both love each other. They've been boyfriend and girlfriend in the past, but they're both really focused on their careers. Another relationship that emerges through the course of the game is with Miles Morales. Okay, we're gonna hit that right now already. Because as you've seen in that presentation, we got a young Miles Morales in the game, who in the comics becomes Spider-Man. In this game, he's a 15-year-old Spider-Man fan whose life becomes intertwined with Peter's. The Osborn family is also present. Harry is overseas, yet stays in touch with Peter. Harry's father, Norman, rode the success of Oscorp to become New York City's mayor. At the time of this game, he's up for re-election. Ooh, I cannot wait to see how this dynamic plays out. Yo, September, you need to get here. Okay, let me see. Many of these relationships sound a bit precarious. None more than one he shares with Lee. When investigating a lead as Spider-Man, Peter learns Lee, one of the nicest people he knows, can transform into Mr. Negative, a villain who takes on the color of a photographic negative, has superhuman strength and reflexes, and can project negative energy like an oddly colored laser beam. He can also corrupt people, giving them negative energy or drain their life essence to enhance his own powers. Lee is a leader of a group called the Inner Demons, masked adversaries who are far more formidable than Kingpin's crew due to their negative weapons and abilities. They are rising to power quickly, targeting both Kingpin's remaining strongholds and the hard-working people of the city. So not only did Peter manage to put Fisk away, but now the Inner Demons led by Lee are pretty much trying to usurp King Fisk's role in the city and try and take over all of his territory. They want to destroy the Big Apple. We don't see much of Lee in our demo, but we do know he's working fast and he won't let Spider-Man stop him. Yo, the City Never Sleeps initiative. Yo, this screenshot looks so crisp. Look at that. Is that the Empire State? That's got to be the Empire State Building. Yo, that's so cool. Once players have completed the main story, Insomniac is committed to keeping them engaged. The Team City Never Sleeps initiative brings numerous drops of post-release content, each featuring a villain, unique storyline, missions, challenges, and suits. Whoa! Hold on! So even after the game is done, they're gonna keep putting stuff in the game like city events and stuff, and different villains that are not in the base game? Missions and challenges and suits? Yo! The first one is called The Heist and focuses on Black Cat set in a museum. No pricing models were given for this DLC, but Insomniac says there won't be any microtransactions for crafting materials or other in-game items. That is how you do it. That is how you do it. What is that gaming company that did that before, met so much backlash, and now that they're trying to take the microtransaction, they're really hoping that it gains the players' good favor back. I mean, EA is already up there. I mean, they've already dug themselves like a 60-foot grave. But Shadow of War was bad for that too. But now they're going to remove that whole microtransaction thing in general and put the game the way it was supposed to be at launch, because they feel like they've already milked it for as much as it's worth. But this is how you do it. It's just like... But Insomniac says there won't be any microtransactions for crafting materials or other in-game items. Yes, thank you. I love the fact that I'll be able to earn my stuff in this game and not purchase it for either $4, $9, $19, and up. In fact, creative director Brian Intihar says, well, he says something else, but says no to the possibility of microtransactions. Thank you, Insomniac. My already high level of hype has gone even higher, because now I know that from what this says, you're not going to be looking to make people pay for a game more than once after they bought it. Because too often do we get games where it's $60 and then some settings and features are locked behind paywalls. And I don't buy a game for $60. Full price games, mind you, I don't even do that anymore. I get them as low price as I can because I don't buy games full price just for me to keep paying for them. I buy it at full price, and then I expect to get some value out of it. I don't want to feel like I'm buying value in a game. Like, we already have games out there now that will charge you for different things that should be basic in a game, and they'll charge you $60 for it, but then expect you to shell out more money in order to fully enhance your experience. So I'm so glad that Insomniac is not going this route. Yo, y'all don't even know how happy this makes me. Exploring the open world. Yes, Insomniac's version of New York City is a sprawling playground for Spider-Man to web swing across and climb, offering the verticality to stretch out his powers and the intimacy to ground his human side. In my hands-on time, I began by casually walking down the sidewalk, blending with the locals. They know him and have accepted him as their own. One man yells, "What up, G?" when I cross the street. A woman on the sidewalk wants to take a photo with me. I accept the request and pose with her for a shot. Other people show no interest in me or are going about their business, some talking to one another, others are selling food or shopping. I veer off a main street into a small park with grass, trees, and a basketball court. A couple of squirrels dart past me as I attach a web line to a basketball. Squirrels? Not just birds? But y'all got squirrels? Now I know this is New York. After spinning it over my head a few times, I try to hit a three-pointer but miss terribly. I point finger guns at the people on the court and take to the skies. The city is enormous and densely packed with objects and life. Yes, please let this be true and remain throughout the game. Don't downsize it at all. Let New York City be like New York City. Don't just let the civilians just casually walk across the sidewalk and that's all they ever do. Countless hours. Don't do anything except say, "Hey, there's Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man, Spidey!" And then they're just walking in an endless loop on a sidewalk around one building. None of it disappears when viewed from a distance. My aimless exploration takes me by Grand Central Station, and I earn experience points for discovering a landmark. When enough experience is gained, Spider-Man levels up. The juiciness of the RPG elements. Yes! Each level awards him skill points that can improve his abilities, such as a boost move that launches him faster and longer from a perched position. The speed of swinging can also increase with points. Ladies and gentlemen, your fears are now permanently subsided. The speed of his swing can be upgraded. Sure, they said this, but for this to be confirmed completely in writing for all to see. There you go. My exploration of the city reveals the Avengers exist in this continuity. What? At least their tower is present. Intihar wouldn't say if any members of the team would make cameos or be featured in any way. The same answer applies to owners of other famed Marvel Universe locations like Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum and Black Panther's Wakanda Embassy, both of which look fantastic. Yo, the Sanctum Sanctorum and the Wakanda Embassy is in the game. Yes! New York may be different due to the comic book influence, but Insomniac is adhering to the basic structure of the city. We looked at satellite data, Chu says. Central Park is where you'd expect it to be. The financial district is where it should be. By mashing the real locations and comic locations together, I think New York feels like it should. Perfect! The minimap in the lower left-hand corner shows the street layout. Pardon me. And also highlights side activities, of which there are many and more are added as the game unfolds. The first one I stumbled upon is a scavenger hunt. I just have to locate one of Peter's old backpacks, which he webbed up in a secret location. So Spidey's forgetful. He completely forgot where his backpack was when he changed into his suit, and now you gotta go find it. Sweet. I use the environment scan to locate it and pull it down with the web. The backpack contains an image of one of Spider-Man's first web shooters. Intihar says that in the final game, the backpack items help flesh out Spider-Man's backstory with audio recordings. As I take to the skies again, I ping the environment and a series of colored icons appear. These are the activities that are near me. I can also press the touchpad to bring up the map to see everything, or place a waypoint on a destination. If a desired locale is on the other side of the map, I can fast travel, but I have to find a subway entrance to do this. After descending into stairs, Spider-Man rides the train nonchalantly, surfing his cell phone as he stands with other New Yorkers. Yo, just seeing Spider-Man just walk right into a subway and then just be on his phone looking at stuff along with other New Yorkers, and everyone in New York is just chill with this. Yeah, I'm gonna love that. Insomniac is creating a number of vignettes like this for fast travel, some tailored for specific things that happen in the game. A nearby rooftop holds a challenge from little-known villain Taskmaster, who I only see a headshot of. His mask is made of metal, much like Dr. Doom's, but he still wears a hood over it, much like his comic counterpart. He has tasked me to locate and deactivate 3 bombs scattered across the city in a short period of time. When a bomb is reached, Spider-Man tosses it off of the building, and the player must rapidly press R1 to shoot out web blast to detonate it, which ends with a satisfying fireball. The webbing actually encases the bomb. The more webbing you apply, the higher your point total. Sweet. When the task is completed, a statistics screen appears showing me how I fared. It also provides 2 bonus objectives. Completing the mission grants me a crafting component. Had I completed all the objectives, I would have earned more. The crafting... Oh, here we go. The crafting talks. The crafting materials are used in a number of ways. Since Peter is a scientist, he makes and upgrades all of his own gadgets. He can also craft new suits. Insomniac is proud of his new take on Spider-Man's suit as well. I like it too because it just shows you just how in-depth it just thinks. This is like when I think about it, with each iteration of his suit, he's constantly upgrading it to the point where we go from the Arkham Asylum suit of Batman to the full-on flexible battle tank armor of Arkham Knight. And that's just the feeling I get when I see this costume. He can also craft new suits. Insomniac is proud of his new take on Spider-Man's suit, but it wants players to be the Spider-Man they have in their heads. What? Can we make our own custom Spidey suit? And it extends far beyond his look. With the tech system, we wanted to make sure players have choices in terms of which gadgets or suit upgrades work best for their playstyle, so that they could customize their own Spider-Man experience, Smith says. We focused on suits and gadgets because they represent a great opportunity for us to incorporate a part of Insomniac's heritage. Making fun gadgets is one of the things we're known for. Seriously, look at their Ratchet and Clank and Sunset Overdrive series. Like, all of it is just based on custom weapons and different gadgets that you can use to get through an environment. And it's just amazing how they're incorporating this into this game. Especially with someone like Spider-Man, who knows what people are going to be showcasing when this game comes out. And combine it with Spider-Man's character in a way that naturally fit. Intihar showed me a screen of 12+ suit silhouettes. 12+, people! But quickly clarified that the number I was hastily trying to count wasn't accurate and there would be many more. Back to it. Oh, I am so intrigued. Not just one... Yo! Not just one suit. Along with Insomniac's advanced suit, we saw 3 additional suits, most granting Spider-Man a unique upgradable stats on a suit. If you like a particular suit's power, you can move it to a... Oh my goodness! If you like a particular suit's power, you can move it to another suit. Along with classic suits, Insomniac says it has designed several that have never been seen before. This familiar... Oh, okay, so you got the classic suit. And a lot of people paid attention to the last video that they've uploaded. And you can clearly see Spidey using the classic suit. The classic suit. This familiar suit's power is quad damage, which creative director Brian Intihar says turns Spidey into a steamroller. When activated, his hands glow with fiery hues for a short amount of time. Yo, attack boost. Then you have the Noir. We played as this dark variation, but didn't see its power in action. Yo, Spidey Noir! Then you have Spider-Punk. The classic suit is buried underneath a sleeveless jean jacket outfitted with a dozen plus buttons. Spider-Man also has a mohawk of inch-long spikes on top of his head. This suit's special ability is quite odd and seems to fit more with Sunset Overdrive. Spider-Man whips out a guitar and strums it to send out a spherical shockwave attack that knocks down all foes. What? Insomniac, why are you doing this to me? It's just the beginning of April! April, May, June, July, August, September. The wait is going to be so long! Wrestling suit. We didn't see this suit in action, but did see an illustration of it on a wrestling poster in Peter's apartment that pits Spider-Man versus Crusher Hogan. Odds are we'll see this old school suit in the game. Yo, and you got this image of Spider-Man just standing on the side of a tower, just on his phone, just chilling. Man, why y'all gotta make Spidey so cool? Side questing in the Big Apple. Other activities that reward the character with materials range from checking in on Harry Osborn's Oscorp Industries research stations, each leading Spider-Man to different mini-missions, to Black Cat stakeouts in which Spider-Man must hunt for golden cat statues outfitted with surveillance gear. I found a cat tucked in an open window. When I was in range, I used a camera to snap a photo of it. The most challenging activity is tied to the Kingpin bases of note. Each of these locales is a hotbed of enemy activity. I approached a base high atop an unfinished skyscraper and tried to use stealth to web up as many enemies as I could. I managed to wrap one heavily armed thug up into a web cocoon, but was spotted by the nearby guard. Everything broke loose, and a wave of enemies appeared on screen. This encounter showed just how chaotic combat can be, as well as how crafty Spider-Man is in these instances. In keeping with most of Insomniac's games, the player can hold L1 to bring up a gadget wheel. In my demo, it contained 3 items: a tripwire, web bomb, and standard webbing. The tripwire is a good tool for stealth, as it can pull someone to a wall and contain them. The web bomb is used for crowd control, as it rises from the ground, explodes, and showers webs onto everyone nearby, stunning them. Intihar also showed us the prototype of a 4th gadget, the Spider Drone, a disc-shaped spider that hovers in the air and blasts out webs, sometimes incapacitating enemies. I wonder, can the Spider Drone be upgraded? Oh, this is so appealing to me. Outside of the standard web shooters, these gadgets are not infinite in supply, so the player must be savvy in their use. I do my best to put them to good work, but find Spider-Man's acrobatic prowess to deliver the most satisfaction and success. As waves of enemies fall, more dangerous foes emerge, including a guard carrying a shield. He blocks most attacks, but if Spidey gets in close, he can dive under the brute's legs and pummel him from behind. The final wave brings in the heat. An adversary armed with a rocket launcher. I'm told that later in the game, Spider-Man can send rockets back at their attackers. Bruh! But for now, good luck. I take the first rocket blast full on and have to retreat to heal, a process handled by pressing down on the D-pad. This life-saving maneuver drains my focus meter, which I also use for finishers. My next attempt relies heavily on my Spidey sense to tell me when to dodge. I find a window to web zip over and launch the attacker off of the building. He tumbles a couple of stories before being pulled to the side of the building with webbing. Spider-Man doesn't kill, and the player doesn't have to worry about these moments. They are automatically webbed up. Okay. Makes me think about that presentation we got. And during the fight on top of the half-built building with the scaffolding, you see Spider-Man knock a guy away from the building. And it would look like there's a button prompt there that could allow you to let him fall off the building. But what they're saying here... what they're saying here is that no matter what happens, no person that you hit, Spidey would allow them to come to harm in a way that could actually kill them. So if you punch a dude in midair away from a building, Spider-Man is just gonna pull him back in order to, save him, because Spidey doesn't kill. Spidey also can't harm civilians. He'll just give them high fives or interact with them in silly ways. Yo, Levi, what's going on, my man? We're reading through this entire article. We're reading through this entire article for the Spider-Man PS4, which we can now confirm is coming out September 7th of this year. As I explore the city more, I notice a red warning sign appear on my map, signaling a random crime is unfolding. These events are completely optional, and there isn't a meter representing Spider-Man standing in the city. Thank you for never bringing that up. The crimes range from storefront robberies to high-speed getaways, none lasting long if you play your cards right. The storefront robberies feature small interior spaces. We saw a convenience and jewelry store which housed maybe 5 or 6 criminals. As you engage them, one of the enemies may try to take off in a car, a dynamic switch in how the random events unfold. If this happens, Spider must land on the roof of the car to remove the driver, an action handled through a quick time event, or find another way to stop it. He can also land on the hood with force, shooting out webs to the sides and stop it dead in its tracks, the car's back wheels rising from the force. After taking down a variety of challenges, a gold marker appears on my mini-map, and I hear Yuriko say Shocker was spotted at the bank. Yo. I arrived just in time to see him knock the giant round door off of the bank's vault with 2 huge arm cannons. This version of Shocker looks a bit like Iron Man, decked out in jagged armor, yet still retaining the maroon and gold colors. He engages Spider-Man, but the sequence fades to black and my time with the game ends. Like the comic books that carry excitement on the covers, I walked away from Spider-Man with one word in mind: amazing! Insomniac Games is poised to do for Spider-Man what Rocksteady did for Batman. And that speaks volumes, because they went well above and beyond for Batman with just Arkham Asylum. Then they went with what could be regarded as one of the greatest superhero games, Batman Arkham City. And then they brought us Batman Arkham Knight to conclude on that trilogy. And that whole thing just improved with each subsequent game, and it just got better and better. So for them to say that Insomniac is doing for Spider-Man what Rocksteady did for Batman, this could be the video game revival. This looks like it's going to be the video game revival that Spidey has needed all these years. This is a fresh yet familiar take on this beloved character that is hitting all of the right notes. I only experienced a small part of what will be in the final product, but what I played is exactly what I want from a Spider-Man game. And me as a Spider-Man fan, let's check it out. Oh, I gotta see this. Hold on. Headphones. Oh, so we're gonna check this out real quick so you guys can see as well just how crisp this is.
You gotta feel like Spider-Man more than you've ever done before. It's all about feeling like Spider-Man.
Our Spider-Man is obviously a more experienced Spider-Man. He's not just learning how to swing. He swings with a lot of style.
Swinging is so crisp.
He's not, 15 years old. He's not just getting used to his powers. He definitely wanted to play up the fact that he has the ability to juggle between webs, and melee, environment action, and gadgets, and switch between them pretty quickly.
One of the biggest reasons we at Insomniac connect with Spider-Man and with Peter Parker is that they're both underdogs.
Delivering that fantasy of I'm swinging through this concrete jungle gym of New York City, and I'm doing it with speed,
so
style,
beautiful.
flow, fluidity,
It's all come together from like prototype space to now you really get that sense of speed with the visual effects that are there.
It was a great challenge for us to take who we are, what we know, and just branch out even further as we build this giant city and try to satisfy some stratospheric expectations from fans.
That is absolutely beautiful. Hold on, I need to go back. Okay, so here's some things that I want to point out right here. So we'll turn the volume down, and as we go through this, we're gonna go through this because this is the first time I ever done like a frame by frame on a video before. But as you see this, like you see the way he swings, you see the air just roar around him. So, and it also slightly blurs based on your speed, but that swing right there, like it's not just like your big, like the way he swings, just it is so crisp. And then he uses his webs to slingshot himself out into the open like that. So even when you're going fast, you can make yourself launch even further. So hold on, let me find this other one. The combat looks good. And I gotta say, even for Spidey, that's brutal. Like, and then there's a classic suit right there. Classic suit, because he doesn't have the whites on. You can see it just briefly. It's real brief. There it is. You see the red boots, the same boots that he said he doesn't need to wear red boots anymore. You see the same one, so you got the classic suit right there. And then you have that little web trip line going up between those dudes. And I heard someone complain that the animation from them transitioning from being smacked together to immediately being on the ground, like you can see it right there. Like they hit each other and they immediately just fall, and they're immediately already on the ground getting webbed up. But this next part after, just look at that traversal though. Like just unstoppable, and then okay, right here. Like look at this. Look at this. And then you get to launch yourself into a swing down to a building. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Look at that turn when he's swinging back into the air. Hold on. Like, look at this turn. It's crazy. Like, he's swinging and he's looking behind him as he's turning right back into a main swing. Like, that stuck with me. Like, they put so much variation into how he swings down on a web. And you got him flying through the air. Then you see a couple of pigeons. Like, look at that back turn. I could watch that all day. Someone needs to make that a GIF. But just the variations. Like, I could keep replaying that all day. And one thing they still have is like the sort of web zip feature that they had in the Amazing Spider-Man games, but it looks like the web zip feature done right, actually. And then you got him swinging, and then you got him running into a building, and right as you get to the top, you get that special button prompt that comes up. And it launches him further to go across the buildings, just go across the buildings once again. It's like crazy. Then you got him swinging through and knock the dude out to stop the struck. Like, this thing is absolutely amazing. Is there anything else with this article? Okay, that was it for it. Yo, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, I gotta get this down. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the reading of Game Informer's May issue with their cover story of Spider-Man. Yo, peoples, this game is gonna be so hype. I cannot wait for this game. I cannot believe I spent an hour talking about this, but I'm pleased nonetheless. Let me know what you think. about this whole article as a whole. There's so many things to talk about, but I pretty much covered it already. I'm excited for this game. This is going to be a day one purchase for me. There is absolutely no question now. There's no question. Literally. Oh boy. Suit crafting, the swinging, the physics based on it. It's amazing. I cannot wait for this. Hope y'all enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you all in the next video. So have a fantastic day, and I will see you all next time. So once again, as always, later, peoples.